Thank you, and I will shift to Italian, but before I like to thank the organizers and Noel Tassé for having invited me and the Global Patient-Reported Outcome Initiative to contribute to such an important event and congress. Speaking in Italia, l'Associazione Italiana
The MS Association and its foundation have a long history of support and financing of many of the research topics that have been debated in this event. Just a couple, the HSCT transplant, a long history of financing, and in general, advanced cell therapies. I was asked to give you a couple of information about who we are. So, Associazione Italiana Sclerosi Multipla, together with its foundation, is the only Italian organization that supports people who live and deal with this illness. There are three main pillars in terms of support and rights. The first one is rights, research, and then the third one is people. In order to fulfill their needs, I want to remind you that this association is composed of MS-affected people. It is very rare, of course. They've got a sort of agenda. It is the agenda of people, but it is actually the agenda of all the actors in the system that makes this association and agenda possible. As I said before, Italian MS Society is the leading charity promoting and funding research in this field in Italy. It does research intramural and not just extramural, but intramural, because one of the topics we're going to touch upon today is the result of the research done by the association. It studies the three different domains, the rehabilitation, public health, and also implication models of all important people in the research and even those that are affected by MS. And in this agenda, one of the priorities is the one linked to the ability of involving those that have MS and their family in the research. Now I'm going to tell you what is the global initiative for reported outcomes, patient-reported outcomes. You will understand how much having these people involved in the research is important. Just as I say, the association has launched a campaign done through AI. It is called Campaign, and in that way, we managed to understand the invisible symptoms of people living with MS. These are red flags that we should be able to recognize and assess. These are the figures and, the patient-reported outcomes. So I do urge you to have a look at this campaign that can be found on the website, and on YouTube. So let's talk about this initiative. It is an initiative led by MS International Federation and the European Charcot Foundation with the Italian MS Society. I have no disclosure statement. So we have already heard about the importance of using patient-reported outcomes and how important they are when we have to assess therapies. But even if we use all these outcomes, all the involved actors agree with the fact that these measures are not as important as they should be in order to provide and deliver results. Well, those that are affected by MS, so people with multiple sclerosis are frustrated that functional domains that matter most to them are not addressed by current prompts or by ladders. These scale ladders are not specific, they are generic, and moreover, they are sort of snapshots. Of course, we know that the main symptoms of those affected by MS, like cognitive and mobility symptoms, must be assessed throughout time. So what is the paradigm shift this initiative wants to have? So capturing the diversity of the experience of people living with a disease and making it scientifically relevant for all the interested stakeholders. Of course, if it doesn't happen, people with MS and their experience cannot be used, let's say. Why is it important for MS to use patient reported outcomes? Well, we've seen it even with a portrait campaign. There are some red flags, as I said, that are hidden, that are part of the hidden part of the iceberg. If we can understand that those red flags, that together with other markers, we can promote a holistic approach towards the illness, this disease. So we could have an early diagnosis, we can have early treatment, and we can assess the evolution of the illness. But we have to change our mindset. The patient must not be at the center, it must be sitting together with us at the table. If we do like that, in that way, the reported outcomes will have another value, will have another meaning. Of course, to create science with the people, we need a scientific model. So that's why the association has been working since 2017 in this research domain. It has developed a model supported by the European community that is focused on the patient being part and parcel of the research. The person is not important because it is a replacer of the researcher, but because they give their experience. It is not an independent process from the other stakeholders. All the other stakeholders are responsible in involving MS patients, because if they do it, if they promote an active participation in developing outcomes reported by patients, well, in that way they can be used as impact health indicators. In this moment today, it's not like that. We are more interested at looking at other markers, but not in what people really think. What is the barrier when we have to work with people affected by MS? Well, we need to ensure representativeness, and the patient must be accompanied by the ability of involving people in a representative way if we really want to use their experience in order to develop new skills. So that's why, and that's here that the association's role becomes important. This is a model that our association uses in the whole portfolio of research, nationally and internationally. The initiative is on patient-reported outcome that has as a mission to maximize science with patients, maximizing the impact of science with and of patients' inputs in order to take decisions in the right way. It is a global initiative that brings together over 60 different scientific advocacy experts, and the first example, and it is the first example of participatory governance. This initiative is performed by some working groups, inside which there are many different people. So patients, there are caregivers, there is the industry, there are researchers, and together they have an aim. So to answer these 4 questions: what functional domains matter to patients? What are the interdependencies of these aspects that really matter to patients? What we use today, is it really useful? Can we really assess what matters the most to patients? Or are they standardized that are okay for decision makers, and that's it? And can we please have a look at what's available from a digital point of view in terms of assessing the evolution of the patient throughout time and not just when the patient goes to the GP? The results have been published here, and today I would like to share where we are going and where we are when we want to answer the first question, so what matters to patients. So we did a global survey that involved more than 5,000 people. People decided which were the 26 functional domains that really matters to them, and they told us how much they impactful are, how impactful they are on their life. They also said what were the aspects that annoyed them the most in the previous 4 weeks before the survey, and in that way we managed to understand these domains. So the 26 functional domains are functional domains. So we've got a cognitive domain, a mood domain, mobility domain, sensory domain, and physical or psychological domain. What does it mean? It means that we cannot simply assess one single aspect of this sphere. We have to analyze the most important one, but even interdependencies. When we talk about fatigue, fatigue is a very important element, of course. But when we talk about fatigue, we are not simply talking about mobility fatigue. We need to assess all these aspects. And we even try to characterize these answers according to the forms of illness and even according to the age. There's nothing, of course, the patient-reported outcomes is very important. So we need to understand the most important aspects for all the kinds of illness that people have. For example, in the phase of the relapsing is linked to mood, whereas on the progressive phase, the most important aspect is the mobility one. So we cannot simply assess what matters for people from a relapsing resistant phase with the same tool that we use for progressive ones. So in that way, we managed to analyze we managed to understand that there are some aspects that we do not assess. For example, digestive and gastrointestinal issues, cardiac problems, hair loss, weight loss. Of course, these aspects are fundamental for people, and we are doing a Delphi analysis to translate all these aspects into data. So where are we going today? If today we can assess a different experience of people in the early stage possible, so when it's just the beginning of the development of the MS, well, in that way we will be able to get important information, because that way we can prevent, we can assess the development and the evolution. People are not all the same? Well, we've got this sentence, one prom doesn't fit for all. We need to find some measures that can help us take a snapshot of different kinds of populations that maybe have the same kind of illness and interdependencies of illnesses. Of course, we need time to do that. We have launched our survey in order to assess the kind of digital tools we could use and who accept them, what is the level of acceptability from people. So I do invite you to copy the QR code that you can see here in the slide and taking part in this survey. Of course, you can make a difference. You can help researchers and other stakeholders in take that snapshot that might change the quality of life and the access of treatments. So this is the website of the initiative. These are social channels. Take part in the survey, the digital survey, and of course, I want to thank all those that have taken part in this initiative, and I also thank you for the attention. Thank you to all those that are here today to witness their own experience. So thank you very much.